one of the big upsets of rugby last year, maybe the big upset of rugby last year, Ireland beat the Black Ferns in WXV1. No one saw that coming. Everyone thought, I think we said, sat in these very seats, that is a free hit for Ireland because there's no chance they'll win that game.
Yeah.
And then they go out and do that. We're now in the situation a year on where people have come to expect that Ireland might do the unexpected. I think that Black Ferns game has become so significant that everyone rates Ireland completely differently.
Yeah.
And it leaves them being a very different threat going to this World Cup.
Yeah. It's a funny one. I find it quite difficult to know where Ireland sit at the moment. Finished third in the Six Nations, and that England game in the Six Nations felt like it would be quite a telling point for them, where for the first half, they gave England a proper game. And then maybe the 5 minutes after half-time, they looked like they had England rattled.
Yeah.
And England went away and utterly trounced them by the end of it. Now, that probably says more about England than it does about Ireland, but it also tells you that they're not on that level yet. They're maybe at that level, you know? And don't get me wrong, that's great. It's much further than they ever looked like they were going to get to a couple of years ago. But yeah, they're in an interesting phase where they are clearly building something quite special, but I think it's still kind of in progress.
Yeah. They improved so drastically from 2022 to 2023 and then 2024. I think it kind of felt at the time, their jump from Scott McMahon coming in through to last autumn, which was a year, thereabouts. It very much felt like they achieved about 4 years worth of development in a year, and it was unbelievable. And I now think they're kind of catching up on that. I think they haven't got better from that point, and I think that's fine because they were so far ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
That they're now just kind of like, they still need some more time to develop. Yeah. And this World Cup's come at a weird point because in some ways it feels like they're stagnating. I don't think they are. I think they got so far ahead of schedule in beating the Black Ferns.
It's managing expectations a bit, isn't it?
Exactly. Like, that kind of should have been the game where they lost narrowly to the Black Ferns, and then they go on and beat them, you know, a year or two down the line, and that's the big moment of celebration. But instead, they saw it out and they win the game.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a huge moment for that team, but it sets expectation. And we should be beating these teams. We should be competing consistently with England, with Canada, with New Zealand, with France.
Right. Perspective's important, isn't it?
Yeah. What it's done is it's then said, like, actually, the situation we're in now is we'll be competing with them in the odd game.
Yeah.
And maybe we win 1 out of 20 games. But they happen to win that one. That 1 out of 20 happened to be their first game.
Yeah.
So it's put them in, like, a weird situation where actually they're still developing on that route.
But crucially, they have brought through a plethora of really exciting players, and they play a very cohesive brand of rugby, which is very individual to them. That they have probably one of the strongest kicking games in this World Cup.
Yeah.
And they lean into it more than basically anybody else.
They kick on an earlier phase count than any other team in this World Cup.
Yeah. That they like to, after 1 or 2 phases, trust Dana O'Brien at 10 to ping the corners and to find grass, and she's extremely good at it. She has got one of the biggest boots in this tournament.
There is something of the O'Gara about her.
Yeah.
That way she pins the corners, way she's always looking, always scanning the field.
Plays incredibly deep.
Yeah. Put kicks into positions that make them very difficult for fullbacks and wingers. Like real fullbacks nightmare player, Dana O'Brien.
Yeah.
And they've got, you know, a couple of different options there in, you know, Nicole Foley, very different fly half, but also has an excellent boot. And then Stacey Flood can fill in at 10 as well if needs be, but I doubt we'll see that over this World Cup.
Largely been playing fullback. I think, to be honest, the one kind of flaw in this is those are basically the 2 kickers that they have in their team. And they are both left-footers. It's a very rare situation where a team doesn't have a registered right-footed kicker. Usually it's the other way around. And so, and they are both extremely left-footed. So like players who don't like falter at all. Dana O'Brien is a player who kicks extremely straight on.
Emily Lane, Molly Scuffle-McCabe.
Yeah, they're all right footers, but they don't really kick off line very much.
So rare,
Yeah, it's a different kind of factor in women's rugby. I think box kicking is more used in the women's game as a means of finding space, like spontaneously, as the nines call or the wingers call if they spotted something back there, rather than something that teams specifically do, as part of their game plan. I don't know, I might be generalising a little bit there. I think some teams will view it differently.
The stat brought up in the other video that the only one team, being Italy, in the Women's Six Nations kicked more than the team that kicked the least off 9 these fewest box kicks in the men's Six Nations.
Yeah,
Like,
there we
it's
go.
drastically lower.
Yeah. And so with that in mind, I think that a lot of teams will just be targeting O'Brien's boot and just be like absolutely hair after her, because they know if they can take that out of the game, then, or even get through to the 9 and disrupt the kind of transfer from the 9-10 channel, if they can block that, you can remove a lot of Ireland's game. Not all of it, but a lot of it. A lot of the back play for sure.
Yeah, because they do also have a very, very good pack.
They do.
Erin King is missing this World Cup injured.
Gutted
Still
about
very
that.
sad. However, someone who has made it just about is Epha Wafer.
Yeah.
Player of the Six Nations. Arguably could have been player of the Six Nations last year. Was in our team of the year last year. Is over the last 2 years, there's an argument. Like, how many players have been better than her?
Not many.
In the world, men or women?
Not many.
Like, how many players have been better?
Not many.
If you were to, put together a list, like, I don't think there's 5. I think you're looking at, like, Antoine Dupont last year.
Yeah.
Ellie Kildunn last year.
Who was even off playing sevens for half of it. Like, yeah, it's...
Kildunn last year. And then you're maybe looking at her, like, is she 3rd?
Yeah, you're not looking at many players.
4th, maybe? Surveyor?
Yeah, especially as far as back row forwards go, which is the most contested position in terms of just players who play well in any level of rugby. You're looking at a lot of back rowers that you always list there. Like whenever we do team of the year, it's always the hardest position to pick because it's so crowded.
But she was nailed in.
Yeah, she is. I think when she came through, she reminded me a lot of Sean O'Brien as somebody who is a grovelling back row forward, plays all 3 equally well, is really good at the breakdown and just thunders into every carry and makes about 10 metres more than you'd ever expect her to. Proper like farmer strength she has.
An incredibly muscular brand of rugby.
Yes.
And yet also has this kind of nous.
Yeah.
And those lines of running that add into the actual like sheer bulk and ability and power of her.
Yeah.
She is not just her physical attributes.
No.
You know?
What I also like about her is that Scott Bermand really varies the use of her.
Yeah.
And it's similar in a way to what we've said about like Jack Morgan with the Welsh men's team, is that she is simultaneously used as an edge forward and as a middle, like carrying forward. And basically, whenever she's on her feet and she's not at the bottom of a breakdown, she's just has to like get to wherever's like the next available place to carry from. And they essentially, give her quite a loose role. Again, Ardi Savia with the All Blacks has given a similar role to this and is just told like you can roam around the park as long as everyone else stays in shape and that you're staying connected to somebody at some point. Have a bit of free reign, run around the park. Get your hands on the bloody ball because you will run through people. And it's not just that, but also in defence. She hits so hard. Like, she is a bone cruncher. And always, like, that hits so dominantly that she stays on her feet so she can contest the ball. And that as, like, a singular skill is so, so impressive. She rarely chop tackles.
Yeah.
She always goes for big shots. And it is so entertaining to watch.
One of the very rare proper out-and-out jackal threats in this World Cup as well. Like, again, as we talked about in the video, not to keep bringing it up, but like, it is more common that we see blast rather than jackal turnovers, and she does both. She's very good at both.
Yeah.
But she is one of the best at just locking over the ball and keeping in place, as well as just being able to like nudge and slow down, break down ball. She's got a real nous for that already. We saw a couple of penalties in the Six Nations against her on that angle, but she's improving all the time in that area in terms of working out which rucks to target, which not to.
Yeah.
This was never an issue of a game. Like, I'm not picking out on it at all, but like, it's always something every back row can improve, something Richie McCaw could improve, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think she's one of the most complete players to come along in quite some time.
Yeah.
I want to see her develop more of a kicking game because that is the point she's at now.
Yeah.
To the point where you're like, well, how does she improve?
What else can she do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learn to kick goals.
She can be the right-footed kicker that they need. Who knows?
Learn to scrummage on her own.
Yeah.
Against 8 forwards.
What else you got left?
Yeah.
But elsewhere in that pack, there are a few standout names. Unfortunately, you mentioned Erin King, but Dorothy Wall being out injured, I think is possibly as big a miss for them because she's the line-out leader for them typically, or was in the Six Nations, and was outstanding. Really good ball carrier, but unfortunately he's been ruled out. And instead in the second row, they can rely on our friend Sammy Bill.
Yeah.
Sam Monaghan. Plays at Gloucester Hartpury, is like renowned as one of the best players at Gloucester Hartpury.
Vastly underrated, Sam Monaghan, despite what you just said.
Yeah.
I don't see that many people talk about her.
Yeah.
But what a player.
What a captain as
well. Captaining as well now, and is a great leader by all accounts. Really excited to see her
known for the offload as well. As I say, Sammy Bill is her nickname, so she's brilliant around the park and really good defensively as well.
Yep.
Her and Neve Jones as well from that Gloucester contingent. That hooker position in Ireland is so well contested, man. They've got Neve Jones, they've got Cleena Maloney. They've even had Derva and Nick Board in the last few years, has been brilliant, has played between there and number 8. Like, they've got so many great players in that position. But yeah, Cleena Maloney coming back in after having previously stepped aside because she disagreed with a lot of things that the RFU were doing, essentially, and they've sorted a lot of those out, and she's come back and she's been brilliant as an impact player off the bench for Neve Jones, who can cut about the park. She is known for the chop tackle, that she's known to just nail people who are 3 times her size. She is not tall, Neve Jones, and yet she has one of the biggest hearts in this World Cup in terms of just putting her body on the line and killing people. And she is so entertaining to watch. And she smiles through it the whole time.
Absolutely.
She's such a great player, like barbarian style player to watch. And again, if you've not watched much women's rugby before, then she is a player that you look at. And she's the sort of player that I think will inspire people to play rugby, because it's just like, she punches so far above her weight and she's so good to watch.
Speaking of, Linda Dugang.
Yes.
In that front row, again, another prop who is basically a second number 8, uses a brilliant ball carrier, has started playing both sides of the scrum as well. But on the loose head, you have, again, someone I think is amongst the most underrated players in the world, Neve O'Dowd.
Yes.
Who very few people are talking about, but I thought was one of the best players in the Six Nations this year.
Yeah.
Just covers so much work, covers so much ground, and a great scrummager as well.
So solid scrum time.
So, yeah, I would look at basically that entire Ireland pack are going to keep them in games.
They
help them
put
win
the
those early
platform
games.
forward for Dana O'Brien to pin those corners and make life hell for those fullbacks. And most importantly, when those fullbacks inevitably drop the ball, they then win their scrums.
However, I do want to talk about Ireland's path a little bit, though.
Yeah.
Because they start with the 2 easiest games of their pool, right? They then play the Black Ferns, so they probably come with 2 wins, then play the Black Ferns last in that pool. I've got a bit of a worry that maybe they go with almost a false sense of confidence from last year and from 2 big wins. And a few weeks ago against Canada in that last warm-up game, they got smashed.
Yeah.
Like, make no bones about it, like, by the fact that Anna McGann came into this, and we didn't mention Anna McGann.
We're not talking about the back line at all.
No,
but we'll get on to that.
What a player Anna McGann.
Yeah.
Then came in and scored a couple of brilliant tries and made it look much more respectable than it was.
Yeah.
But that felt completely one-sided to Canada.
Yeah.
And, like, even when Ireland had big passage of possession, they were holding them out. And I've got a feeling we might see the same against the Black Ferns. I think it might be actually a good thing for Canada, for Ireland in the long run, that they had that game against Canada.
Yeah.
And they're able to kind of reset and go like, okay, we went in a little bit arrogant, or, you know, a little bit perhaps, we underestimate Canada a bit. You look at Scott Bowman saying this is the perfect opportunity for us because we want to get another big win over like one of the big nations before the World Cup.
Yeah.
Beforehand, you're a bit like, steady on here, you know. Like, I think they underrated Canada a little bit and they kind of forgot about how good they are.
Yeah.
And you've got to hope that they don't do the same against the Black Ferns. And presumably they won't. But I think there is a real worry of, like, do they lull themselves into false sense of superiority over those
It's a funny one because Ireland, in a way, like, always perform how you don't expect them to.
Yeah.
It sounds stupid, but, like, when you write them off, that is when they're at their best. And when you pile pressure on them and expect them to win something, suddenly that's when they come out and they will put in a huge performance. So they've been such a weirdly, like, inconsistent, but not necessarily in a bad way, team in the last few years. So that's a funny one.
But they would play in a potential quarter-final, the runner-up in... that will likely be France or Italy, depending on whether they're first or second, right? And they can win both those games.
Yeah.
They can lose both those games, but they can win both of them.
Yeah.
They can beat France.
They're a very exciting prospect.
Yeah.
And tight games weirdly suit Ireland really well because of the game breakers like Epha Wafer. You mentioned there Anna McGann, who's the sort of player literally is just like, I think other than Wafer, she is the player I rate most in this Ireland team. She's, I guess, maybe my favourite to watch as well because she's just a player that when you give her the ball, like, there's just a good chance she might score.
Yeah.
And again, it's a bullshit player, and we've talked about the importance of those in the women's game, but a player who can just break the line at will because her acceleration is so unbelievable and she's so strong out of contact. Her and Amy Lee Costigan on the other wing, Eve Higgins
or
in the
Bevan Parsons.
Bevan Parsons, of course, who is an outstanding finisher, has been brilliant on the Sevens circuit, unbelievably fast, and still only like 23 years old. Like, she's still like got such a huge future ahead of her.
Yeah. You mentioned Aoife Dalton, who I think is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Eve Higgins as well in the centre. You've got a bunch of options there. Enya Breen. They've got so many good options in that back line.
Yeah.
And they've got so much quality. The thing is, right, you come into a potential quarterfinal, and Italy, definitely they can beat, and they should go in as favourites. I think Italy can definitely
Agreed.
Cause an upset there. But then France, right? And the thing they'd have to bargain on against France is being more composed and more together, because France will outdo anyone for talent.
Yeah.
Like, apart from maybe the Red Roses and maybe New Zealand. But like France, in terms of sheer ability and talent, they're as good as anyone. But in terms of organisation and actually like being a cohesive rugby team, they're not all that.
The other part of this is Ireland's game plan is extremely energy sapping. It is high energy, high reward, and so it will be a case of, and a lot of these games will be a case of like how fit are the two teams compared to each other. And I think that's something that's quite easy to over-egg in rugby, in international rugby for sure, because everybody's well conditioned in international rugby. But against England, we saw that like England were fitter. They were 30 minutes fitter than them.
I always think a level of that though, like if they run away with a game early on, right? Do they then stop playing their kick-heavy strategy?
Maybe they do.
And start running the ball more, and then that leads to them slipping over later on because they get too comfortable playing that way.
Yeah. There's also an option. I think Ireland are a brilliant team who you have to approach with caution.
Yeah.
And like how you consider them, because they are equally capable of being absolutely brilliant against a great team and scraping past a minnow.
I kind of feel like there's no in between. I think they're either going to be the story of this World Cup and they're going to make a semi-final and they're going to be superb, or they're going to be the disappointment of the World Cup.
Yeah.
And they're not going to quite show up as we expect.
I agree. I'm cautious about Ireland. I'm cautiously optimistic, but very much cautiously.
Okay. So, if you had to pull out one Irish player, who would you go for? Let's say the same thing, right? And Wafer is so far ahead, the same as Alex Callender. We're going to discard Epha Wafer.
She's too good for this.
She's number one.
Yeah.
We're going to pick a number two each.
I'll go for Anna McGann then.
Okay, fine. I was going to go for Anna McGann as well.
Yeah, she is utter bollocks and difficult to defend, and just a proper left winger for me.
Yeah.
Just somebody who just pops up, and when she's meant to score tries, she will score tries 100% of the time.
Okay. I was going to go for Anna McGann as well. I want to mention the two props again, but Dana O'Brien, who I think is the key to them doing well. If she performs at her best, the best of her ability, Ireland may go far. Yeah. I think a lot of it is on how she keeps her head under pressure against the Black Ferns and then France down the road.
Yeah, I'll back that. Okay, mixed reviews on Ireland pre-World Cup.
Mixed reviews on Ireland. I think there's a chance that people think we're being very harsh on them.
I think so, yeah. I think we have been harsh on them.
It's cautious optimism, yeah. As I say, I think like we saw over the Six Nations there in the process of course correcting because they got so far ahead of themselves. But then like having to level things out.
But who knows? They've shown they can beat the Black Ferns, and the Black Ferns are in their pool.
Do you think they can win this World Cup?
I don't think anybody other than the big three, or maybe the big four, can win the World Cup, and I don't think they're in the big four.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But
they can reach a semi-final.
I think they're probably the best chance of anyone outside that big four for reaching the semi-final.
I agree.
So I put it that way.
Cool.
Rugby Union.